Okay, I think we're just about ready to begin. So good morning and welcome everybody. It's great to be with you this morning as we pay tribute and remember all our United States service members through the centuries who perished in the line of duty, and especially their family members who survived them. While today's ceremony, unlike those of the past, where we were able to gather together on the front lawn of our school, it is no less meaningful. Memorial Day has always taken on special meaning in Bronxville, and we certainly will not allow this pandemic to take away from this important tradition. This morning's program will be a combination of live speeches as well as some pre-recorded events. And I would like to start today's program by having our student scouts lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will then be followed by the playing of our national anthem. During the anthem, you'll see some wonderful pictures of our kindergarten students. Leading us in the pledge today are the following students: Matthew, William, Ava, Odin, Abby, Sam, Andre, Porter, Henry, and May.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wonderful, thank you. It's an honor for me to introduce some of our local veterans and other guests that are joining and are watching us. We have Ruth Walter, our Westchester County legislator from District 15, Mayor Marvin, Chief Satriali, as well as members of our Bronxville Board of Education, John Atkinson, Arlene Thomas, Tom Curran, Tom Evans, Jack Beerworth, Jennifer Russo, and Michael Finley, as well as many members of the Bronxville staff. The veterans we honor today came from all walks of life, but they share several fundamental qualities. They possess courage, pride, determination, selflessness, dedication to duty and integrity, all the qualities needed to serve a cause larger than oneself. Many of them didn't ask to leave their homes to fight on distant battlefields. Many didn't volunteer. They didn't go to war because they loved fighting. They were called to be part of something bigger than themselves. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways in extreme times. They rose to the nation's call because they wanted to protect a nation which has given them and us so much. They indeed left their dreams so we could continue ours. From VFW 2285 and American Legion 979. We have Alex Bruno, US Army in Korea. Peter Surincione, US Marine Corps in Vietnam. Richard Chesmore, Matthew Chung, Michael Fix, US Army Transportation Corps. Bob Foster, VFW Post Commander, US Air Force, Vietnam. Joshua Gaccioni, US Army Operation Enduring Freedom, Afghanistan, and Operation Iraqi Freedom, Iraq. Carmine Gagliardi, Mike Ibarra, US Army Reserve. Jerry Krosick, U.S. Marines, Vietnam. Peter Laterza, who's deceased. Anthony Lohr. Joe Mamana, American Legion Post Commander. Bob McGurl, deceased. Travis Melby, U.S. Army Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom, Afghanistan. Peter Murphy. Anthony Nuno, U.S. Army Germany. Rod O'Shea. Jim Pecchioni, U.S. Air Force, Grenada, Lebanon. Vito Pinto, U.S. Navy, Vietnam. Ferdinand Rodriguez. Gunther Ruprecht, U.S. Marine Corps, Vietnam. Jude Stenson, Ed Stowe, Tom Vinton, U.S. Marine Corps, Vietnam era. Thank you for answering the call to duty. You have helped make our armed forces the most respected in the world. I also want to take a quick moment to recognize other heroes of today, the healthcare workers, first responders, and essential workers who are putting themselves on the line to help during this pandemic. We now have a very special message from one of our veterans, Mr. Vito Pinto, so I will turn it over to him.
Good morning, Bronxville. My name is Vito Pinto, and I'm honored to speak on behalf of the veterans of the American Legion and VFW Post. I want to thank Superintendent Roy Montesano, Principal Ann Meyer, the entire administration, teaching and support staff, the student body K through 12, and those who put this program together. We look forward to attending the annual Memorial Day ceremony and watching your entire student body assemble on the Great Lawn, especially the kindergarten youngsters dressed for the occasion. Today, we are with you in spirit. Despite the events occurring around the world, you have not abandoned tradition. You have not forgotten your past strengths. You have kept alive the true meaning of Memorial Day for not only the present, but the future as well. Memorial Day has been and continues to be a day set aside to remember, respect, and reflect upon those brave men and women who made the supreme sacrifice in the defense of our nation. They gave their tomorrow so that we can enjoy our today. I ask that you take a few moments to remember those in the health profession, first responders, and municipal workers who recently made the supreme sacrifice when they answered the call to duty. Much like our veterans, I would add, their unselfish response was one of care and love for those in need of medical and personal attention. To the class of 2020, of which my grandson, Jack Vito Seminara, is a member, I wish you Godspeed in overcoming the loss of your classroom and after-school activities, clubs, sports, music, drama, college choices to be made, especially your prom and graduation ceremony, and the questions yet to be answered regarding some college decisions for the fall. I share with you that the greatest generation ever was defined by their response to World War II. They too missed those same activities and life experience by leaving school to fight for our country. Many dropped out at 15 and 16, missing most of their recent school years and activities. Those who returned settled for their GED diplomas and entered college and university to achieve their goals. They have been an inspiration for all to follow. Their journey through life was difficult, to say the least. The same can be said about our Major League Baseball players, like Ted Williams and others who joined the military and missed their peak years of competition. They too returned and worked hard to successfully continue their careers. I leave you with these words as you embark on your journey of life that will define your generation. Adapt to the situation to overcome adversity. Set your goals high, lest you fall short. Remember, teamwork, coupled with a positive attitude, brings success more than failure. If you see someone fall, reach out with a helping hand. You are not alone. Thank you, Bronxville, for keeping your Memorial Day tradition alive. We veterans salute you.
Thank you, Mr. Pinto. I'd like to now recognize some Bronxville staff members who have served in the military or are currently serving in the active reserves. Mike Perigine, a Vietnam War veteran, served in the U.S. Navy. Nicole Simpson served in Iraq as a member of the U.S. Army, now in the reserves. Santiago Borriquez Marin, a Marine who served overseas in Japan, Vietnam, and Hawaii. In addition, there are a number of Bronxville alum who are currently serving in the armed forces. Gabe Adorno, Tyler Amudi, Matthew Beto, Robert Visconti, David Branson, Chris Brogan, Tim Brogan, Paul Capone, Nora Gerson, Ryan Grossen, Eric Gustafson, Michael Hubert, Peter Jaglum, William McGow, Colin Morrison, Melisses Moy, Bobby O'Connor, Cody Rodman, Matthew Regani, Matthew Salisbury, Patrick Sika, Mac Von Muren, Wilhelm Toms, Stephen Wong, Wyatt Yankus, Kristen Yu, and Edward Yu. To our Bronxville staff members who are veterans, thank you for your service. Monday, the official Memorial Day, marks the 152nd anniversary of this solemn ceremony. The first day was established back in 1868 by General John Logan of the Grand Army of the Republic as a way to honor the fallen soldiers. The purpose of Memorial Day is to memorialize the veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice for their country. We spend time remembering those who lost their lives and could not come home, reflecting on their service and why we have the luxury and freedom that we enjoy today. During Memorial Day or Veterans Day, you may have seen people wearing or distributing the red field poppy flower, which has become a symbol of Memorial Day. Perhaps you wondered why the red poppy. In the war-torn battlefields of Europe, the common red field poppy was one of the first plants to reappear. Its seeds gathered in the wind and sat dormant in the ground, only germinating when the ground was disturbed, as it was by the brutal fighting of World War I. John McCrae, a Canadian soldier and physician, witnessed the war firsthand and was inspired to write the famous poem, In Flanders Fields. That was in 1915. In 1918, days before the official end of the war, an American professor named Moyna Michael wrote her own poem called We Shall Keep the Faith, which was inspired by McCrae's In Flanders Fields. In her poem, she mentions wearing the poppy red to honor the dead, and with that, the tradition of wearing a single red poppy in remembrance of those killed in the Great War was born. And I'd like to share Miss Michael's poems with you, entitled We Shall Keep the Faith. Oh, you who sleep in Flanders Fields, sleep sweet to rise anew. We caught the torch you threw, and holding high we keep the faith with all who died. We cherish too the poppy red that grows on fields where valor led. It seems to signal to the skies that blood of heroes never dies, but lends a luster to the red of the flower that blooms above the dead in Flanders Fields. And now the torch and poppy red we wear in honor of our dead. Fear not that ye have died for naught. We'll teach the lessons that ye wrought in Flanders Fields. We will always remember the sacrifices of our nation's heroes. We are deeply grateful. In remembering the fallen, we also honor their loved ones, their spouses, fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, sisters, brothers, and friends. There really aren't proper words, but we do live in gratitude each and every day for the precious gift that they have given to us. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first student speaker, Harry Villanueva, who is the president of the Student Faculty Legislation. Harry.
Thank you. Firstly, I would like to thank the mayor, trustees, members of the Bronxville School Administration for putting this event together, and most of all, our veterans. I would like to take a moment to recognize that the reason we could all be here today in this great nation is because of the selfless sacrifices made by brave Americans across our country's history to this day. As many would agree, the price of freedom is high. And it is the brave men and women on our front lines who have never refused to pay that price on our behalf. Today, we honor those sacrifices. Unfortunately, the unforeseen circumstances of today bring new challenges. One of those being honoring our veterans along with those who currently serve. Unlike most years, there is no parade, no marching bands, and no speeches at Leonard Moore Square. But let us not be saddened at such circumstances. Rather, let us rejoice at the fact that we are here today, regardless of where you may be currently. Let our existence serve as a testament of the American endurance of freedom, regardless of what struggles we encounter. What, you may ask, makes America the great nation that it is? The answer: we have the unrelenting power to endure, the tireless courage to exceed and power forward to a brighter day. Such qualities founded by the brave men and women who are willing to sacrifice. So thank you to our veterans from the Army, Navy, Air Force, our Marines, our first responders, and now may I add to that list, our doctors and nurses who indeed have made unsung sacrifices to ensure the American well-being. On behalf of the Bronxville School, I would like to express my sincerest gratitude to your service to our nation. Your sacrifice and love of our nation will never be forgotten. And now, more than ever, due to your selflessness, are we proud to be Americans. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. That was terrific. At this point, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Ann Meyer, who is our high school principal, who has a couple of student awards that we traditionally present during this time. So Ann?
A Bronxville tradition on Memorial Day is to honor the memory of two former Bronxville High School graduates and community members by recognizing two members of our current sophomore class. Both of the people we remember played an important role in sustaining our country's freedom through times of trial by serving in the military. I would like to invite last year's recipients, Kelly Wield and Tim Atkinson, now members of the junior class, to present the awards to the sophomore class awardees. First, I'd like to invite Kelly Wield to present the award.
Our first award honors Barry Penfield, who graduated from Bronxville High School with a class of 1940. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, she tried to enlist in the Army, but was rejected for medical reasons. She moved on to join the Dutch Women's War Corps and worked in Holland, helping soldiers even during the Battle of the Bulge. To honor her memory, we give the Women's Service Award to a 10th grade girl who exemplifies the spirit of service and commitment of Barry Penfield. This year's recipient, as voted on by her classmates, is Bethany Lee.
And now I'd like to ask Tim Atkinson to present the next award.
Our second award honors Thomas Hodgson, who graduated from Bronxville High School in 1946 and attended Duke University. In 1951, he joined the Marine Corps and served our country in Korea until his death in action on March 24, 1952. Tom was an exceptional person. He was unselfish and set an outstanding example to all those who knew him. With his natural ability, he combined unusual industry and persistence, always striving to achieve his best, both in academics and extracurricular activities. To honor his memory annually, we give the Thomas Hodgson Award to a 10th grade boy who best exemplifies Mr. Hodgson's qualities. This year's recipient, as voted on by his classmates, is Chris Kelty.
Great, thank you. At this time, we are going to have the playing of taps, and our flags will be moved to half staff. So please join us in a moment of silence as we remember those who fought so bravely and gave the ultimate sacrifice to defend our freedom. Following that, there will be a beautiful rendition of America the Beautiful, which will be performed by our juniors Olivia Caniff and Caitlin McBride under the direction of Miss Pam Simpson. Thank you. We would now like to honor the branches of our military with a musical selection performed by members of our band under the direction of Miss Uma Karkala. It is now my pleasure to introduce our closing speaker, Thomas Schumack, who represents the Bronxville Middle School.
Thank you very much. What would it be like joining the military and being deployed to an area in which you stare your enemy in the face? To be the tip of the spear for your country's fight against a threatening enemy. For many of us, this would be unimaginable, but not for the unbelievably brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces. These incredible heroes risk their lives all around the globe to protect our freedom and democracy from the dangers of today. The important role of the military has never been a small one, either during wartime or in combating other hardships like serving our country during the pandemic that we face today. Servicemen and women have been standing by our side and helping us during these unprecedented times. Examples of their recent support include the USNS Comfort being sent to New York and the USNS Mercy being sent to Los Angeles to help those in need, as well as the Air Force Thunderbirds and the Navy Blue Angels, who are performing patriotic flyovers in major cities across the country to boost national morale. The United States is such an extraordinary nation because each generation of Americans has been faced with and has overcome challenges and hardships time and time again. Starting with the Revolutionary War, which established our freedom, both world wars fought to preserve the free world, and the Korean conflict to defend the very concept of democracy. Our successes have given us an unparalleled reputation as a country. We owe an unpayable debt to those who have died for this to be known as the land of the free. These achievements would not be possible without the unimaginable sacrifice that our fallen soldiers have made for us on the battlefield. From the Revolutionary War that birthed our country to the war on terror today, countless young Americans have laid down their lives to ensure that the principles on which our country is built are not in jeopardy. We remember every single one of them for their vital role in making America what it is today. In their honor, we celebrate Memorial Day together, as well as learn about their great sacrifices in our classes at school. In addition, we, the current generation of Americans, are now responsible for preserving our country to ensure that we leave an even better union than we were given for our future generations to safeguard. This constant improvement takes courage and hard work, the kind that has been displayed by our fallen heroes and also by our current service members. Let us remember always so that the sacrifice made by so many will never be forgotten. As President Lyndon Johnson once said, on this Memorial Day, it is right for us to remember the living and the dead, for whom the call of their country has meant much pain and sacrifice. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Thomas. I'd like to thank our veterans one more time, and to our student speakers and presenters, and to everyone else, our staff members who helped put the program together. And as we sign off, you're going to hear music from our middle school band and orchestra, which is put together under the direction of our music teacher, Mr. Wyeth Tabenga. Please enjoy Memorial Day weekend and remember to thank our veterans. Thank you for joining us. Yes, kindergarten kids.